One of the worst advice that I heard when I was in my 20s was follow your passion. And the funny thing is, when I first heard it, I didn't think it was a bad advice. I thought it was deep. I thought it was inspiring. I thought it was the kind of sentence that separates people who live ordinary lives from people who actually dare to live differently. I think a lot of us heard that idea from people like Steve Jobs. He said something along the lines of, you have to love what you do. And when Steve Jobs says something like that, of course you listen. He's Steve Jobs. He built Apple. He changed the way people think about technology, design, creativity, and business. So when someone like that tells you to love your work, it feels like he's giving you the secret formula. And when you're young, that idea is very seductive. Because in your 20s, you don't just want a job, you want meaning. You don't just want money, you want identity. You don't just want to survive, you want your life to feel like it's going somewhere. So when someone says follow your passion, it feels like it's the answers that you've been waiting for. The problem is most of us heard that advice at the wrong stage of life. Think about it. Steve Jobs said this when he became Steve Jobs. But most of us heard it when we were still confused, insecure, broke, emotional, and had no real proof of what we were actually good at. And that difference matters, because when successful people talk about passion, they are usually looking backward. They already have skills, they already have taste, they already have experience, they already have scars. So when they say follow your passion, it sounds clean and romantic. But when a confused 22-year-old hears it, it becomes dangerous. Because now you start believing, and before you do anything meaningful, you need to find this one magical thing that makes your soul feel alive. And if you don't find it, you think something is wrong with you. I think the biggest problem with follow your passion is the word passion. Most people think passion is like a feeling, like a hobby, something exciting, something fun, something that makes you feel energized, something you can imagine yourself doing without getting bored. But the older I get, the more I realize passion is not always in the beginning of the journey. A lot of the time, passion is what comes after you get good at something. Because when you're bad at something, it's very hard to enjoy. The first time you make a video, you feel awkward. The first time you sell something, you sound uncomfortable. The first time you lead a team, you overthink everything. The first time you start a business, even the simple problems feels heavy. Because you don't yet have the experience to know what matters and what doesn't. At that stage, it's easy to confuse discomfort with lack of passion. You try something for a few weeks, it feels hard, and then you tell yourself, maybe this is not my real passion. But maybe that's not true. Maybe you just still bad at it. Maybe you haven't stayed with it long enough to reach that part where it becomes enjoyable. Because usually things become fun after you develop competence. When you understand the pattern, when your tastes improve, when people start responding, when you begin to see progress, that's when passion starts to grow. So passion is not always something you discover. Sometimes passion is something you earn. You earn it through repetition, you earn it through feedback, you earn it by surviving the boring parts long enough to become good. And that's the part motivational advice rarely explains. And now the biggest question in this video is, how do we find our passion? When you tell a young person to follow their passion, the first thing they usually do is not build skill. They start searching for identity. They ask, what do I love? What is my calling? What is my purpose? What kind of life do I want? Those questions are not wrong, but if you ask them too early without enough life experience, they can trap you inside your own head. Because you start trying to think your way into clarity. But clarity doesn't come from thinking. Clarity comes from trying. You don't really know whether you love content creation until you love made content consistently. You don't really know whether you love business until you dealt with customer, cash flow, pressure, and responsibility. You don't really know whether you love design until you had to revise something 10 times for a client who still says, can you make it more premium? In any other 20s mind, every passion looks beautiful. It sounds enjoyable. But the truth is, no matter how deep your love towards that skills, that activity, there will come a time where you feel you already stuck. If you love coffee, you imagine the cafe, the design, the music, the community, the lifestyle. But once you enter reality, coffee is not just coffee anymore. It becomes rent, staff, suppliers, machine, margin, customer complaint, and days where sales don't make sense. If you love content, you imagine the audience, the freedom, the creativity, the possibility of going viral. But in reality, content also means writing when you don't feel inspired, editing when you are tired, posting when nobody cares, and improving even when the algorithm ignores you. So the issue is not that passion is fake. The issue is that passion only shows you the attractive part of the path. It doesn't show you the cost, and every path has a cost. We need to be honest. A lot of people don't actually want their passion. They want the lifestyle of someone who succeeded at their passion. They don't want to be a creator, they want the attention of a successful creator. They don't want to build a business. They want a freedom of business that already works. They don't want to be an artist. They want the respect of an artist who has already found their voice. And I don't say this to insult anyone. I say this because I think I also had this kind of problem when I was young. Sometimes I didn't know whether I wanted to work or I just wanted the image attached to the work. That's why the better question is not what am I passionate about? The better question is what kind of pain I'm willing to repeat. Because passion is derived from a Greek word, which the direct translation from English is to suffer, because every meaningful path will eventually becomes painful. The problem is when you choose only based on your passion, you are choosing based on the easiest version of the dream. You're choosing the version that exists in your head, not the version that exists in real life. In real life, even your dream job has boring days. Even your dream business has annoying problems. Even your dream career will sometimes make you question yourself. So if your decision is only based on excitement, you will quit once the excitement disappears. And here's the truth, excitement always disappears. And that's not a sign you chose the wrong path. That's just the nature of anything you do seriously. At first, the dreams give you energy. Later, discipline has to carry you. Another people don't tell you is this: the market does not care about your passion, the market cares about value. This is a very painful lesson to me. Just because you love something doesn't mean people will pay for it. Just because something is meaningful to you doesn't mean it's useful to others. Just because it feels like your dream doesn't mean the world has a demand for it. I know that sounds harsh, but it's very freeing actually, because it means you don't have to sit around waiting to find the perfect passion. You can start becoming useful. You can ask better questions. What problem can I solve? What skill can I build? What do people already need? Where do I have natural curiosity? Where can I improve faster than most people? What kind of work gives me energy even when it's difficult? That's a much better direction, because the sweet spot is not passion alone. The sweet spot is when something you care about meets something you can become good at, and something the world actually values. If you only care about it but you're not good, it stays as a fantasy. If you're good at it but you don't care, it becomes a golden cage. If the market wants it but you hate doing it, you might make money but slowly you lose yourself. But when care, skill, demand meet, that's when work starts to feel meaningful. Not easy, meaningful. There's a big difference. So if follow your passion is not right, it's incomplete. What should we do instead? I think the better advice is follow your curiosity, build your competence, and let passion become the result. It's not something that you choose. Curiosity is much better starting point because it doesn't pressure you to know your whole future. Passion sounds like a marriage. Curiosity is just a first date. You don't need to know whether the thing is your destiny. You just need to test whether it's worth exploring. Make one video, sell one product, join one project, learn one skill, work with one mentor, talk to someone already doing the thing. Try it long enough to collect real feedback. And then pay attention. Do you enjoy the process or only the idea? Do you improve when you practice? Do people respond to your work? Do you feel more alive after doing it or more drained? Are you willing to go through the boring parts without needing constant motivation? And the biggest question, are you willing to do it when no one is watching? And that's how you learn about yourself. Not by sitting alone and asking what is my passion, but by entering reality and letting the world give you data. Because your imagination will always lie you a little bit. Reality is more honest. So when I say follow your passion is the worst advice, is it really the worst advice? Yeah, if you take it in face value just like that. But if you tweak it, like you follow your curiosity first and at the end you commit of doing it, even it's boring, then it becomes useful. I think the only problem with that saying, with that motivational quotes, is because passion has some connotation towards positivity, right? Like it's excitement, like it's fun. But like I said, if you can enter a reality where passion means to suffer and you're willing to suffer when there's no one's watching, then I think it's worth it. That suffering will become your value, which will become your contribution to the whole wide world. So I really hope this video can give value to you. You're not late. The point of me making this video is maybe you don't need to find your passion now. Maybe you just need to try more things and finish more things and become good at something that matters, that gives value, solves people's problems. Because the dream life is not found by chasing what feels good. It is built when the boring days come and you still do it. That's passion. Stay classy.